Hello and welcome to the 12 Report with Blessings Mosugu, and these are the headlines. Crisis looms in high institutions as SANU, NASU threaten walkout. Presidency fires back, dismisses Atiku's revolution warning. And now all eyes are on Malawi as voters cast ballots in high-stakes poll. And as usual, we have our reporters stationed in different parts of the country and outside. We have Bongani Siziba joining us from Malawi, Mana Balagbogo from Kogi State, Idong Joseph, Bettina Nweli and Victor Ajayi are in Abuja, while Chinwe Ugele joins from Abia State. We've got the details in a moment. And now to the stories. We begin with the flood alert issued, particularly in Kogi State. The federal government has sounded the alarm over rising water levels in the Niger and Benue Rivers. Lokoja, particularly the Ganaja area, is on high alert, with residents facing the threat of devastating flood, much like the 2022 disaster that displaced 200,000 people. As we speak, News Central's Mana Balagogo is live in Lokoja with the latest. Mana, the federal government has declared Lokoja as a danger zone in terms of the flood. Let's understand what the effects are currently. Where are you, and what's the effect of the flood on the people, and what are the dangers if people don't evacuate as soon as possible?
All right, thank you so much, Blessing. Well, I'm at Kabawa community right here in Kogi State, Lokoja, the state capital to be precise. And just behind me, you can see just not more than 5 steps behind me, you can already see the water levels. It has risen up just very close to where the road is. The road is in front of me, but I can't pan the camera now, so you can see that. So just if you look far, just behind me, where you can see some vegetation, that place, you could walk up to that place as at January this year, according to what the residents in this particular community told me. But that is not the case at the moment, as the water, has risen up to this level, almost getting close to the road. But the residents that I've been speaking with have been telling me that there is no concern, that, there is a particular reference point to note if it's actually going to overflow towards the roadside. There is a particular palm tree. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just behind me. It's just right there. So when the water gets above that particular palm tree, that's when there will actually be tension in this particular area, and then people will be running helter-skelter to find alternatives to get shelter and all of that. So I can tell you that the atmosphere right here is pretty calm, and people are not really so worried despite the federal government's alert on Sunday. But of course, that alert was more of a probability. Anyway, as they say, prevention is better than cure. And I think that is what is key. So talking about your question in terms of the devastating effect, this particular place here, like I was telling you earlier, was actually farmlands. You could actually walk from this particular point and then go far as to where you could see a little vegetation just far if you walk away. So these places, they were farmlands. But right now, because of the flooding situation, the farmlands are gone. So you can imagine people who invested money to plant goods and to plant crops. All of that is gone as a result of the water levels that have come up to this level. And they are very hopeful that in the next 16 to 20 days, the water will recede and it will go back. But some of them were telling me that it will go back, it will come back again. But at the same time, they have to prepare. And very quickly, I have with me Umar. He is a media practitioner. He lives in Kabawa community. If you could just quickly come into my shot. So here he is. I'll just give him a earpiece so that he can be able to speak and we can hear you. So Umar, thank you so much for coming on 12 Report. So can you talk to us about your experience?
My name is Umar, a resident of Kabawa community.
So tell us about your experience.
My experience in dealing with flooding in this community is, though there has always been a persistent flooding as far as local government is concerned. But this year, the result we are seeing right now has not been giving us any indication that there will be flood. Despite the federal government's alert last week about the flooding.
So why are you so confident that you won't say that?
So flooding in Kabawa, anytime there is anything like this, between August and early September, you will see the level of water will go very high. But as a result of the situation we have now, as far as local is concerned, there is no any situation that guarantees people that they will be flooding as far as local is
What about Niger and local government?
Oh, I can't tell very much about other areas. This is my community. I have resided in this community for over 40 years today. And I recognize whatever happened, and I always understand what happened within the community each and every time whenever there is flooding. The first flooding, the second flooding, and the third one, we had the experience. And whatever we saw here indicates that really there is no any indication that it will be flood, despite the federal government alert that there will be flood within our community.
Okay, now that the water level is practically high at this point, if they were to release the water from the dams, let's say Kainji Dam, Blackwood Dam, do you think it will overflow?
So any water released from the country that will be seen to be an indication because it's not mature. Whatever water experience we had in this community, especially the flooding period, the moment it's just September like this, our expectation is for the water to start going back. As from September, we have like 15 to 20 days. Any moment from now, we can expect the water to start going back. Sometimes by September like this, at the end of September, there is sometimes the water will rise a little bit, and after some months, the water will start going back.
Okay.
That means for now, there is no any sign that it will be flooding as far as my community is concerned about.
All right, back to you, Blessing, in the studio. So the people here in Kabawa community, they are very hopeful that there won't be any call for alarm, but the state government, as that my reporting in the Hotels yesterday, about 42 to 47 IDP camps have been prepared. The applications, I'm still going to give you that and let you know where the applications are, so that in case there are casualties, either here in local state capital, around Ganaja or Kabawa or Omara local government, wherever those casualties are, we'll be able to get there and to ensure that and we'll continue to monitor the situation of things. Do recall, Blessing, that the federal government said from 16th to the 18th. So we still have a few days to monitor situations, and hopefully it will not be like what we saw back in 2022.
Thank you for the update. My colleague there, Mana, who is currently in Kogi State, standing close to the Kabawa River, and we understand that the areas of Ganaja Junction and even the rivers Niger and Benue have been flooded, and the government is asking that people evacuate as soon as possible. Let's go now to Abia State, where the government has rolled out sanitary inspectors to enforce cleanliness in homes and communities. The Commissioner for Environment, Philemon Ogbonna, announced the move on Monday, saying it is part of efforts to improve public hygiene across the state. But the initiative is already drawing mixed reactions as residents weigh in on both the benefits and the penalties that come with it. News Central's Chinwe Ugele gives us more on this. Chinwe, what exactly are these sanitary inspections that are being carried out, and what are the measures meted against perpetrators?
Oh, thank you very much, Blessings. The sanitary inspectors are expected to go around the length and breadth of the state, not just the urban areas. This time around, the rural communities will be involved. They will inspect the villages, the business areas, whatever in the state, just to make sure that they fall in line with the sanitary policy of the state. And it is expected that everybody will have to comply. They have also stated the ways and manners these inspectors will carry out their duties so that they don't impose unnecessary levies and fines on the citizens, because according to him, the aim is not to punish the people, but to make them also be alive to what they are expected to do, hygienically.
So, Chinwe, we also understand the residents are reacting to this move. What are the major concerns that they have, or what are the major praises that they have shared so far about this initiative?
Well, for that, a lot of them spoke to us earlier, even though off camera. I also spoke with one of them on camera. It's been raining all morning, so people are not willing to stand in the rain with me. Their concerns would be from the activities of the inspectors that they are not sure they will follow the line, but then the praises they give to the government is that, okay, they are seeing the result of the efforts the government is making on the roads and the streets and cutting away refuse and all that. So they look forward to them also in, replicating the same thing in their homes and also making people who are ordinarily not interested in hygiene also get interested, because now they know that they will be monitored, they will be, followed to make sure that their environments are kept clean. So that is what it is. Unfortunately, I do not have anyone with me here because of the rain, but then they spoke to us and they told us all of these.
Chinwe Ogele, thank you for the update on that. Away from that, President Bola Tinubu is expected back in Abuja today after cutting short his annual vacation and confirming he will return to official duties from Tuesday. The president left Nigeria for France on the 4th of September to spend part of his holiday abroad, with an initial plan to split the break between France and the United Kingdom. This marks his 7th trip to Paris since taking office in May 2023 and his first foreign engagement since attending the BRICS summit in Russia and the TCAD 9 meeting in Japan earlier this year. News Central's Bettina Nweli now joins us live with more update on this. Bettina, first, can you confirm if the president has truly returned to the country?
All right, no, the president hasn't returned as of yet, but information that we have is that he's set to be back between 5 and 6 p.m. today. So we're still waiting to see what time he gets back. We know the delays that happens with flights from country to country. So give or take, we know he will be back tonight. But regarding his itinerary once he returns, if he's returning between 5 and 6 p.m., then it's very sure that he probably won't be able to do so much activities until tomorrow morning. By tomorrow, we should know what the schedule will be like for the president as he resumes office after his vacation.
So, Bettina, cutting his holiday short has sparked interest. Do we know what prompted the president's early return, and what message does this send politically?
I'm sorry, you have to say that again.
So we understand that there's been a lot of interest around the decision to cut his holiday short. And I'm asking, do we know what exactly prompted the president's early return, and what message do you think this will send out politically?
Well, for now, I do not know the circumstances surrounding his early return. Probably work, as you said. He probably has some things that need his attention, and that is why he's rushing back to the country. But of course, we expect the president to put the nation first in all activities. So if there is something that needs his attention here in Abuja, in Nigeria, then definitely his vacation should be cut short so that he can attend to such matters.
All right, thank you so much, Bettina Nweli, for the update on that. We'll definitely be following up with the president's trip. The presidency has dismissed former Vice President Atiku Abubakar's warning that Nigeria risked unrest similar to the French Revolution due to raging hunger. It described the opposition leader's comments as cheap talk and out of touch with recent economic data. Atiku, who lost to President Bola Tinubu in the 2023 election, said rising hunger could trigger mass anger reminiscent of the 1789 French uprising or the 1917 Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. The presidency argued that under President Tinubu, Nigeria is recording unprecedented revenues. It also accused Atiku and the opposition People's Democratic Party of ignoring these gains and focusing instead on doomsday scenarios rooted in economic mismanagement during their years in power. Many thanks for staying with us on the news. Now, the Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities and the Non-Academic Staff Union of Educational and Associated Institutions have given the federal government a 7-day ultimatum over unresolved issues affecting non-academic staff in universities. In a letter dated 12 September 2025, the two unions criticized the government's handling of earned allowances, citing selective disbursement, non-payment of outstanding entitlements, and other lingering matters. The letter, signed by SANU President Mohammed Ibrahim and NASU General Secretary Peters Adeyemi, also reminded the Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, of an earlier correspondence dated 18th June 2025 from their Joint Account or Action Committee. That letter led to a meeting with the minister on the 4th of July 2025, but the unions say the key issues raised at that meeting remain unresolved. In Abuja, the House of Representatives Press Corps is hosting its very first parliamentary lecture with the spotlight on Nigeria's tax reforms and the way forward. Themed Navigating Tax Reforms in Nigeria, Insight on President Bola Tinubu's Policies. The lecture is expected to steer debate on the government's tax agenda and how it ties into broader economic reforms. Former Speaker of the House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, will deliver the keynote address, adding weight to today's discussions. Joining us live from the National Assembly is our correspondent, Idong Joseph. Idong Joseph, why exactly would you say that the lecture on tax reform is considered so timely?
Yeah, thank you, Blessing. Well, if we look at the ongoing tax reform of the federal government, the current administration of President Bola Tinubu, and looking at the economic reality where citizens often complain of not having enough cash, but the price of commodity keeps going up every day. I think this very team is carefully selected also to look at the government trying to implement the new tax law soon. It draws government attention to the need to help government understand that while it implements this tax law, it balances its revenue generation with what citizens are facing, not just citizens, also businesses. Some businesses often complain of finding it difficult to operate, and now the tax reform is going to be put into effect by January next year. So it will help this team, which I would say it has been carefully selected, will help draw government attention to that need. That's the current reality that citizens and also businesses face today.
So beyond lawmakers and policymakers as well, what significance does this hold for ordinary Nigerians? And why was tax reform even chosen as the central theme?
I would say this is very significant. First, it brings together not just, this was organized by journalists, so it brings together journalists to interrogate some questions which they still find it difficult to understand, and also citizens to the public to come also and ask certain questions and understanding how they can navigate when the implementation of this tax reform is going to be put into effect by January. Just as you stated earlier on, the former speaker who is in the current executive is going to be speaking on a keynote address where he will highlight the importance of this tax reform and how citizens can navigate through in the current administration. So I would say that it is significant as it will highlight key issues and how citizens will can navigate through, and so that they won't be more further burdened by taxes and the economic hardship which they currently are facing. So I would say it is significant as it will address certain issues, key issues.
Idong Joseph, thank you for the update on that. The federal government, along with key stakeholders, is meeting in Abuja to chart a new course for Nigeria's railway sector as the country looks to position itself as a leader in Africa's rail network. At the center of discussions is the unveiling of Nigeria's first and Africa's longest high-speed rail project. Stakeholders are also exploring untapped business opportunities, innovative financing models, technology-driven solutions, and tackling pressing issues such as infrastructure gaps, policy bottlenecks, safety, and long-term sustainability. For more on this, we're now joined by our correspondent, Victor Ajayi, who will be giving us updates from Abuja. Victor, this proposed high rail project has caught a lot of attention. I'll start by asking, why do you think that attention is shifted to that sector as we speak?
Have been interesting and exciting. The topic, the speed rail project, has been so exciting that sparked an interesting and exciting conversation among stakeholders and amongst the government representatives that are present here. So this project, the initiative, is going to be a public-private partnership. That is, the government is going to be providing no funds for this project. The funds is going to be coming totally and solely from the private partners that are involved in this.
Resolutions at the forum, what are the resolutions that have been agreed upon regarding this?
All right, so as we all can agree that in the railway industry, in the railway sector, that the lack of manpower, the lack of human capital has been a big issue for them, and also having railway domesticated has been an issue. So the result here is going to cut across the expansion of railway across borders, and also the drive for resources, human resources, engineers, we talk about technicians, and this is going to help customer satisfaction and also the general maintenance and the sustainability of the railway industry at large.
All right, thank you so much for the update. The Delta State Council of Nigeria Labour Congress is drawing a battle line with the state government over the newly introduced dress code for its civil servants, as the state government insists that the policy is aimed at promoting discipline, decency and professionalism within the civil service. News Central's Austin Azu completes the report.
The new dress code for civil servants in Delta State is drawing mixed reactions from within and outside government circles. The directive, issued by the state head of service, Minimi Oseji, sets strict rules for attire based on rank and gender.
These are not new rules. They are rules that have been there because the service has its own rules for civil servants.
What I see that that may be a little bit discriminatory is that some persons are empowered to be more decently dressed than others. Like the legal officers, the law officers, this cadre of officers, they have allowances for outfits.
So let the government include this, what they call wardrobe allowance. That's what they do in the banks now. That's why you find the bankers dressing well as if they are superhumans. No.
At a press conference in Asaba, the State Commissioner for Works, Railroads and Public Information, Charles Aniago, says the dress code is aimed at promoting discipline, decency and professionalism within the civil service.
That you must take cognizance of Code 04314, page 42 of the Civil Service Rules, which says that you must be decently dressed. What we are talking about is decency. Where an individual comes to work and you are wearing spaghetti hands, is it your intention to seduce your directors?
The chairman of the state NLC, Goodluck Ofobruku, who criticized the government's directives, has convened an emergency congress for the leadership of the union to determine the union's stance on the government's policy.
Yes, I have already summoned a state executive council meeting of Nigeria Labour Congress made up of all the unions in the public service and all the unions in the private sector. By Wednesday, we shall sit and look at the directive, and the State Executive Council will direct me as appropriate.
According to the circular, male senior officers from grade level 13s and above are required to wear full suits, while lower grades are expected to wear shirts with ties. Bushy beards are also prohibited. For women, the policy permits corporate gowns, skirt suits, and trouser suits for senior officers. However, tinted hair braids, long artificial eyelashes, and artificial nails are not allowed. In Asaba for News Central, Austin Azu.
We're heading now to the health sector. The Nigerian Medical Association has once again raised concern about the state of Nigeria's healthcare system, calling for increased budgetary allocations and improved welfare for medical professionals. News Central's Israel Iferobo reports.
At a press conference in Lagos, the Nigerian Medical Association Lagos State chapter addressed what it described as the persistent underfunding of the health sector.
Nigeria 2025 health budget stand at 2.48 trillion by the federal government, representing very low 5.18% of the total government expenditure. The World Health Organization, having seen this, are urging Nigeria to raise public health spending at least 20% of total health expenditure.
The theme of this year's briefing, a critical appraisal of Nigeria's budgetary allocations to health, negotiating for better salary scale and relativity for medical doctors, also spotlighted the welfare of doctors.
Negotiation for better medical salary scale and maintenance of relativity among healthcare professionals has become one of the key challenges being faced by the medical profession in Nigeria due to what? Insincerity, unwillingness and lack of integrity by all levels of government when they are dealing with union.
The association also reacted to the suspension of the warning strike by the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors, urging government to fully implement the agreements reached.
Government have started paying, but not fully. The last, when they promised to pay the MRC, that's how many months ago, loot were not paid. But enemy came in, a part of the demand of enemy, that this MRC should be paid. And they promised by August 30th they're going to pay. They didn't pay. The only thing government understand is strike. Until the day on Friday went on strike, they now start paying. We sincere. It showed level of insincerity.
The NMA says until Nigeria matches its commitment with action, healthcare delivery will remain fragile and doctors will continue to seek greener pastures abroad. In Lagos, for News Central, Israel Iferobo.
Civil society organizations in Kogi State have vowed to hold government accountable, especially in matters of grassroots development. At the state's first ever civil society conference, the government announced approval for the transmission of a bill seeking full autonomy for the 44 local government councils to the State House of Assembly. News Central's Emmanuel Bagudu reports.
The government describes the conference as another platform to give account of its stewardship. Coming at a time when allegations of corruption are rocking the state spokesman say the engagement underscores their commitment to transparency.
Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf has made accountability, openness and transparency the pillars of governance in Kogi State. In practical terms, we have created spaces where civil society organizations are not just observers but active participants. Our deliberate effort at encouraging inclusivity and often forums have made policy making a shared responsibility.
Governor Abba Yusuf approved the transmission of a bill seeking full autonomy of Kano's 44 local government councils to the State Assembly. Civil society leaders say the move will enhance accountability and deepen grassroots development.
At the 31st Executive Council meeting of 12 September 2025, the government of Kano State resolved to transmit a bill to the State House of Assembly seeking to guarantee both financial and administrative autonomy for our 44 local government council areas in the state.
Because even from the onset and the beginning, you see that the facilitators are trying to tell the participants as CSOs that you need to understand your peculiarity as CSOs, to understand your role as CSOs, and also to remember that after the conference, The more you checkmate, the more you are also checkmate. So we will learn to do the right thing as far as this conference is concerned.
A za mu je mu gaya musu ne, mu zaunar da su mu gaya musu abubuwan da yake faruwa ne a wuraren da abubuwan idan mu ya gani. Za mu gaya musu akwai matsatsalu kaza, akwai matsala kaza, a guri kaza da mu da gwamnati.
The conference themed Empowering CSOs in Kano for a Sustainable Future, Uniting for Active Democratic Participation in Grassroots Development, was described as the first of its kind in the state. In Kano for News Central, Emmanuel Bagudu.
We go on a short break now, and when we come back, we've got more stories. Stay with us. Now, in business, the Joint Tax Board has moved swiftly to allay fears sparked by reports suggesting that Nigerians without tax identification numbers or tax IDs would be denied access to their bank accounts starting the 1st of January 2026. In a statement released recently, the board reassured citizens that no Nigerian will be barred from accessing their accounts or conducting financial transactions, even beyond the stated date. News Central's correspondent Bettina Nweli reports.
The clarification comes against the backdrop of ongoing tax reforms under President Bola Tinubu's administration. To achieve this, the Joint Tax Board, JTB, is working with the Federal Inland Revenue Service and state tax agencies to introduce a harmonized national tax identification system.
Well, if it's possible, I think it's not a bad idea, because when you look at most countries around the world, they implement tax issue to help the economic growth. If it's good, if it's like that, I think it's good for the country.
So I think it's going to bring a negative impact on the common man. And secondly, inflation will increase, because you can't tell me now that I'm farming and then when I want to transport my goods to the city to sell, it will affect transportation costs, which will also affect the cost of my goods and services that I render to people.
The citizens are yet to be well inundated with the full gist of the tax.
The new system will automatically generate tax IDs using the National Identification Number for individuals and the Corporate Affairs Commission registration number for businesses. The board has urged Nigerians to disregard rumors to the contrary, restating its commitment to fair, people-centered tax policies that support economic growth and ease of doing business.
This provision is not even new. In the Finance Act, about 2 or 3 years ago, the provision was already included that you need a tax identification number, TIN, to open and operate an account. And we said to ourselves under the new laws, we said, why are we insisting on TIN? What we actually just need is anything that can uniquely identify you. If I have your NIN, why am I asking for TIN? If I have your BVN, why am I asking you for TIN? To be honest, if I have your phone number, I should not be asking you for anything.
The Joint Tax Board insists that the reforms are about fairness and growth and not restrictions, hereby reassuring Nigerians that banking access will remain unhindered beyond 2026. In Abuja, for News Central, Bettina Nweli.
Members of the Central Bank of Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee have urged a coordinated strategy across all arms of government to reverse Nigeria's steep fall in foreign direct investment. Personal statements released ahead of this month's MPC meeting highlighted the urgency, noting that FDI plunged 70% in the first quarter of 2025 to $126.29 million, down from $421.88 million in the fourth quarter of 2024. Despite a broader rise in capital inflows, MPC member Aloysius Ordu lamented Nigeria's $1 billion FDI in 2024 as far below peers like Egypt, which is $46 billion, and Brazil, $59 billion. He stressed that ministries and security agencies must work with the CBN to improve investor confidence. Another member, Lydia Jafia, noted some inflows are emerging in oil and gas. Now, 5 companies listed on the Nigerian exchange have projected a combined profit after tax of 24.34 billion naira for the 2025 financial year, according to filings with the bourse. The firms are ICO Insurance PLC, Red Star Express PLC, Sunu Assurances Nigeria PLC, Prestige Assurance PLC, and Eterna PLC. Their forecasts also indicate a total revenue of 426.36 billion naira and operating cash flow of 45.92 billion naira. ICO expects to post the highest profit at 19.55 billion naira, while Eterna projects 1 billion naira. Sunu, Prestige, and Red Star Express forecast 1.56 billion naira, 2.01 billion naira, and 239.7 million naira respectively. The companies also anticipate improved operating cash positions, underscoring cautious optimism ahead of 2025. Coming up on the news, voting underway in Malawi's crucial test for democracy economy. We'll bring you the details after the break. Stay with us. The news continues in Malawi, where voting is underway as citizens turn out to choose their leaders for the next 5 years. Many are eager to make their voices heard despite the tough economic challenges facing the country. President Lazarus Chakwera voted in his hometown of Malebo in Lilongwe district. As Malawians take part in this pivotal election, attention is firmly on how today's choices will shape the nation's path forward. News Central's Mongani Ziba joins us from Malawi for update on the elections. Mongani, how is it going over there?
Good afternoon, Blessings, and also good afternoon to our viewers. I'm still in Lilongwe. As you know, that in the morning we're at President Lazarus Chakwera's home area where he casted his vote. He came through, stood in the line like all citizens, waited for his moment. Then he was verified and then later went to cast his vote. But rather he said he doesn't want to speak to the media because he might be misinterpreted if he says something, and they might think that maybe he is swaying votes to his side. So he decided not to speak to the media. But I'm at one of the smaller polling stations in Lilongwe. If I can just take you and our viewers just to see what is happening here. What you can see, people are now coming in small numbers, maybe one at intervals. So what you're seeing here is where they come in, their names are checked, then they go there. There is a ink that they put to the finger so that one doesn't come back and revote. Going that side, it's also the Malawi Electoral Commission members also doing their job. And this side, that's where they are voting. If I could ask Sibonelo to show you, those are the boards that they are voting. So it's a little bit slower now than in the morning, where we saw polling stations full with long queues. Here is just one person at a time, maybe at intervals. But let me just bring in the presiding officer here just to speak to us how it has been at this polling station. Good afternoon, sir. Thank you for joining us. So how has it been here at the polling station?
Good morning. Good afternoon. It has been a slow process. We had a large turnout in the morning, but in the afternoon, people are slowly coming in. So far, I think I've done about 3/4 of the registered voters that were assigned to my station. I forgot to mention that I am Luntagalonga, the presiding officer for station number 1 or at the Adadritarase Center. In Lilongwe City Center constituency.
Any irregularities that has happened here?
If I may quote an irregularity, it would be that the process we were supposed to use a biometric voter verification device, which at my station has failed to recognize the credentials offered assigned to the operator. But I reported the matter to the authorities, and they told me that we should now use the physical verification process, where we would use the person's ID and the certificate that was issued to that person as a voter identification form. So far, we are doing okay. I believe that every vote will be counted as valid if at all it is valid.
So what time does it closes, and from then what then happens?
Okay, the law stated that we would open the station at 6 a.m. But due to that discrepancy on the biometric voter verification device, I was forced to open at 6:10. So since I opened 10 minutes later than the stipulated time, I should be closing at 4:10 in the afternoon.
And then what happens after the counting of votes?
After closing the polling station, we will take the ballot boxes and we'll count. We'll first of all consolidate the votes that were spoiled and the votes that the ballot papers that are left without being used, and then we'll consolidate those with the votes that are in the ballot to come up with the.
All right, thanks to Bongani Siziba for the update so far. Going outside the shores of Africa, where Donald Trump is set to receive a lavish royal welcome this week, becoming the first U.S. president to make a second state visit to the United Kingdom. Britain is banking on pageantry and diplomacy to smooth ties with Washington's unpredictable leader. For News Central's senior international correspondent, Abia Hagen, has more.
The red carpet will be rolled out at Windsor Castle this week as Britain stages an unprecedented second state visit for US President Donald Trump. From a carriage ride with King Charles to a glittering state banquet, the UK is going all out to appeal to Trump's well-known love of royal pomp and pageantry. Prime Minister Keir Starmer hopes the royal treatment will pay dividends when he hosts Trump at Chequers, his official country retreat. Talks are expected to focus on trade, tariffs and the war in Ukraine. Starmer personally hand-delivered the King's invitation to Trump back in February, a symbolic gesture to win favour with a leader whose support he needs on the world stage. Trump, who has Scottish roots and has often spoken warmly of the monarchy, raved about his first state visit in 2019 with Queen Elizabeth II. He will now become the first US president to be honoured with a second. The programme is heavy on pageantry, with Prince William and Princess Catherine welcoming the Trumps to Windsor, a royal carriage procession, a military flyover, and a state banquet hosted by King Charles and Queen Camilla. The president will also make a private visit to the grave of the late Queen Elizabeth II. But Thursday turns political. Trump and Starmer are expected to announce what officials describe as a world-leading tech partnership and a major civil nuclear deal. Ukraine will also be on the agenda as Trump faces pressure from European leaders to maintain support for Kyiv, despite his warmer tone towards Russia's Vladimir Putin. First Lady Melania Trump, rarely seen on the world stage in recent years, will have her own schedule, including engagements with Queen Camilla and Princess Catherine, who has recently returned to public duties following cancer treatment. Despite the pomp, tensions remain. The White House says Trump will raise concerns about free speech in Britain, echoing criticism made by his former ally Elon Musk at a far-right rally over the weekend. And the Epstein scandal still casts a shadow, with Starmer forced to dismiss his ambassador to Washington last week over links to the disgraced financier. For Britain, this is more than ceremony. It's about preserving the so-called special relationship and keeping one of the world's most unpredictable leaders on side. For News Central, I'm Abia Hagen.
Africa's infrastructure is under relentless assault. According to a new report, natural disasters are costing the continent an average of $12.7 billion annually, a staggering toll that hits homes, roads, and bridges first. Flooding alone accounts for about 70% of the damage, with earthquakes responsible for nearly 28% of this damage that we speak of. Now, there's a sting in the tail. Climate change is expected to worsen the impact by 27%, pushing infrastructure losses up by another $2.4 billion a year. Breaking it down regionally, Eastern Africa suffers most, with $5.5 billion in yearly damage. Northern and Southern Africa follow, while West Africa, the region Nigeria belongs to, loses around $1.58 billion each year. At the country level, Nigeria takes a heavy blow at $1.1 billion annually, second only to South Africa. These numbers are more than statistics. They represent shattered communities, collapsed markets, and halted progress. Without urgent investment in resilient infrastructure, critical facilities, roads, power plants, hospitals remain vulnerable, and every disaster pushes development further out of reach. Because when your foundations wash away, so do your futures. Well, that's your postscript. Now let's talk about sports. The UEFA Champions League returns on Tuesday with the second season of the expanded league phase, promising drama across Europe. Over the next 3 nights, 18 matches will showcase a mix of debutants and heavyweights, with history and milestones at stake. Let's speak to Udoka very quickly. Udoka Njoku, are you ready for us?
Yeah, of course, a lot to look forward to in the UEFA Champions League, which kicks off today, and of course it runs until Wednesday and Thursday, which happens to be the first time we're going to have 3 days of super football action in the UEFA Champions League, because we don't have Europa football this week. But of course, our clubs are vying for top positions, the likes of Arsenal, Chelsea, there's also Manchester City and Tottenham Hotspur. And Man United fans cannot relate to European competitions this season because they'll be struggling to play cup tournaments right there in England. But of course, a lot to look forward to in the UEFA Champions League, and we'll talk about more of that when the game kicks off in a couple of minutes' time.
Definitely. Well, stay tuned on In the Games, and do all to send us your eyewitness report, because we want to see what you see. Well, you can follow us live on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can also watch us live on DSTV channel 422, Go TV channel 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I'm Blessings Masugu.